Hey everybody, this is Mike Hardiker with the Mountain Weekly News. Thanks for checking out this episode. What I wanted to do is show you a few things that I take into the backcountry when I go splitboarding. I get lots of emails, lots of comments about this, so I kind of just wanted to go through my backpack and kind of show you the stuff that I'm using. First of all, I've been using the Burton Incline 40-liter backpack. Basically, the bigger your backpack, the more stuff you're going to carry. So everything that I'm carrying today might be a little overkill for you, but I just kind of wanted to go through. So starting at the top of the pack, I like to have stuff that I get quick access to if I need. First things first, fire starter. What I like to do is I like to put a lighter inside of an Altoids case, and then I get a cotton ball, I soak it with Vaseline, put it inside of a plastic wrapper, and then throw it inside. I've also got a couple other little backups, matches, little wicks as well. Definitely make sure you have a fire starter, maybe two. If you ever have to spend a night outdoors in the wintertime, this is what's going to save your life the most. Another backup fire starter, this is the Extreme Start. We reviewed these a while back. Basically just light the package, the whole thing goes up. Brainless, works in the rain, really, really good to use. I always tour with sunglasses, so I carry an extra sunglass case with me because on the way down I don't want to bust my sunglasses. Spot. This is the new Spot Generation 2 device. This thing is amazing. Basically, it's a two-way messenger. Now you can actually talk to the people that you're communicating with via two-way text. So, hey, I'm out in the backcountry, so-and-so just busted a skin, and we might be back a few hours later. All of a sudden now your girlfriend can say, or boyfriend, hey, cool, got your text message, or I'm an alert search and rescue, da-da-da-da. So this is an incredible tool. Definitely don't leave into the backcountry without some sort of personal locator beacon. That does not include your cell phone. Sunscreen. I'm a ginger, so I always carry sunscreen with me. A little sunscreen stick like this doesn't take much. As soon as the sun comes out, even if the sun's not out, you can see my nose, it gets red quick. So always carry this with you. And this stuff's pretty white, I think you can see. I don't really care if I look like a kook, whatever. Next up, ski straps. Looks like I've got only 2 of them here. Typically I carry 6 ski straps with me before I go in the backcountry, so I will need to update this kit before I go out and tour tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be a powder day up on Togety Pass, so it's one of the reasons I wanted to get this together, is just go through my kit, make sure everything's dialed before I'm out there, and I think, oh shit, I should have brought that. Ski straps, the reason you bring these is skins fail. People don't talk about this, the industry doesn't talk about this. Most skins will fail. They're going to fail depending on the day, depending on the temperature, depending on the profile of your board. We've got a whole video series coming up on that, but skins fail, bring the backup, definitely. Oh, never mind, I've got 4, so I need to add 2 more to my kit. Maybe there's more? Oh, this is kind of an interesting tool. Anybody that's running unions, you're going to recognize this. Sometimes I go out with my unions, sometimes I go out with my sparks. This is an extra union pin. You'd hate to get out there and lose your pin. That would suck. Okay, into the main part of the pack. This pack's kind of cool. You can open it from top access or from the side. Usually I go in from the top. First thing I'm going to pull out, some sort of a down layer. I like to have something to stay warm. You get up to the top, say you're going to dig a pit, say you're going to hang out and have some coffee, maybe you're waiting for somebody to ski across a slope one by one, whatever it is. This doesn't take up much room. Some of them pack into their own pocket. You can certainly do that. I found just stuffing it into the pack seems to work best for me, but your mileage may vary. This is, what is this one? I think this is the Mountain Hardware. I believe it's called the Whisper. I'm testing it out. Full review will happen later on, probably in the wintertime. Okay, down layer is cool, but what happens when you're sweating? I've already been on a hike this morning. You can probably see I am sweating. So once you start sweating, the easiest way, that's the easiest way to get cold. You can put this on top, you can put your other layers, but you're already cold underneath. So bring an extra top, an extra little merino wool top. This is the Ridge Merino, is that what they're called? Yeah, Ridge, they're out of Mammoth, California. This stuff's epic. I mean, just love it. Merino wool. It's going to keep you warm. Swap out when you get cold. Do not keep wearing wet shit. pair of gloves. These are the Dakine Benchler gloves, I believe. Chris Benchler, he's a pro skier, little Grateful Dead hippie guy. I found that just throwing them inside a stuff sack takes up a little less space. Mittens are the best way to keep your hands warm. Basically what happens is when your fingers are doing this, you've got more surface available to the air. When your fingers are like this, there's less surface. This is going to keep your hand warmer. This is not going to be as warm. It's pretty easy. Oh, by the way, these are backup mittens. Speaking of backups, I've got a backup set of gloves. These are the Black Diamond Patrol gloves. Leather gloves, they can take a beating, they can get wet, they can be soaking wet, and your hands stay dry. Ideally, you don't want them to be soaking wet, but backup pair of gloves is all the difference. A lot of times this isn't for you, a lot of times this is for somebody else. So somebody you're with, all of a sudden their hands are wet, they're freezing. Hey, by the way, I've got extra mittens, I've got extra gloves. Doesn't take up a ton of room, it's not too heavy. Okay, I always have a beanie. Typically I'm touring with a hat on and a scarf, so I don't really need the beanie on the way up. And then inside the beanie, I have 2 pairs of goggles. Again, backup pair of goggles, or maybe the light conditions have changed. I'm not really a fan of goggles swapping out lenses. I don't want to do it. I'd rather bring 2 sets of goggles. My favorite goggles are the Belay. I believe these are the Empires. I don't know. I'll put the link down on the site. Really nice. They're Belays. They're flexible. Great vision. I don't know. One of the most underrated optic companies out there. They just bought Spy, so I have a feeling you'll be hearing more about Belay in the future. And then these guys are kind of cool, Glade Optics. I think they're making 2 pairs of goggles for like 99 bucks. We also reviewed these. These are on the site. Check them out. But basically, just make sure you've got a backup pair. You're starting to, redundancy. Water bottle. I like an insulated water bottle. A lot of times we don't drink enough water in the backcountry, especially in the wintertime. In the summer, you would go through numerous ones of these. If you're mountain biking, hiking, hunting, splitboarding, I personally don't drink as much. I also have a coffee mug. That's what I keep looking at. I'm gonna run over there and get it. Yes, coffee. Another nice thing to bring into the backcountry. One of the things I've found with coffee is it typically does not stay hot. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to prime your bottle. Get a bunch of boiling hot water, pour it inside your bottle. Ideally, leave it in there overnight before you put your coffee in the next morning. If you're in a pinch, fill it up with hot water, boiling water, let it sit for a few minutes, then pour your coffee in. None of these bottles so far have worked. I've seen the guys with the big thermoses and things like that say 8 hours. I love coffee. By the time I get back, these are always frozen. So that kind of sucks. I mean, it's nice when it's warm. This is the Eco Vessel. I guess that's not the best advertisement for it because it doesn't quite hold up to 8 hours. I reviewed a bunch of coffee mugs, same thing. I think they're testing these in a warm building, 80 degrees, Southern California. Oh, it lasts for 8 hours. Well, as soon as you start popping it every time, you've got this huge vacuum evaporation going on, all sorts of shit. So coffee. Okay, I learned this from my friend that worked for Brain Farm. Thanks, Jim. Pair of socks. Again, backup socks. When your feet are wet, say you're spending the day out snowmobiling, filming, whatever it is, you stop for a little while, about 2 o'clock, take your boots off, put fresh socks on. These merino wool, holy shit. That's a game changer. Again, it's not going to take up much space. You might not need all this, but the first time that you get out there and you're wet or you have to spend the night, imagine having to spend the night outdoors and now you've got an extra set of socks, you've got an extra set of gloves, mittens, another merino layer, your down layer, and fire starters. Shit, I mean, come on, that's going to be fun. Okay, repair kit. I've got a pretty hefty repair kit that I bring with me. This is probably the thing that you're going to use the most, so make sure your repair kit is dialed. This is an old BCA bag that I just kind of put together in there. Okay, what do I have in my repair kit? I got all sorts of stuff. Let's start with straps. So I use Union and I use Spark. So I've got some Union straps. I've got some Spark straps. My favorite tool that I carry is this Leatherman Multi-Tool. So the reason that I carry this with me in the backcountry is One day I was out teaching an avalanche course, and we had some kids that left their poles in their car overnight, and the poles were collapsed. First thing in the morning we went out, it was like -10, 0 degrees, something crazy like that, Fahrenheit. And we get out there, and all of a sudden we can't get these poles apart, and we are trying, and when we're doing everything that we can, they're frozen shut. So all of a sudden this guy is like, oh, well, hey, I got a Leatherman, and it's got vice grips on it. Check this thing out. This is called the Leatherman Crunch. So regular Leatherman, it's a little bit heavier. That's the only caveat to this thing. I'm definitely looking for a tool that's lighter. Spark's got their multi-tool, but for me, it's a little too small. I mean, if I need to use a tool, I want to crank down. Again, this has the vice grips. That's pretty freaking cool for a multi-tool Leatherman Crunch. Batteries. Looks like I've got AA and AAA batteries. Well, guess what? Beacons use batteries. Headlamps use batteries. Make sure you've got backups for all that shit. That reminds me, my headlamp is not in here. I need to put the headlamp in there. Headlamp is very... Well, maybe it is. Wait, what is that? Hold on. Ding, 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 ding! Headlamp. Do not go in the backcountry without a headlamp. This is a Petzl USB charging one. I'm not the biggest fan. This is called the React. This is my backup headlamp. I carry 2 headlamps with me. Redundancy. I know. You might think I'm crazy. I know certain people on search and rescue that do that. I know other people that think I'm nuts on search and rescue for running 2 headlamps. My normal headlamp is just a traditional black diamond headlamp. It's got the batteries. I think it's 3 AAA batteries that uses. Have a backup. What happens if you've got extra batteries and you crack your headlamp or it goes bad? Especially early season, this is really important because the days are short. A lot of times we're coming home from touring and it's dark out. So headlamp. I carry Gobstopper Wax. I've never had to use this stuff, to be honest. I don't even know how it works. Apparently, I think if your skis are waxing, if snow is sticking to the bottom of your skins, you wax this onto the bottom of your skin, but it's a carpet material, so imagine, I don't know if that's gonna work, whatever. But nice to carry, doesn't take up too much weight. Volet ski scraper. I've never had to use this, but maybe the two go together hand in hand. A lot of times if I need to scrape snow off my board, I'll use the backside of my pole. I don't have a pole right now. Or I'll just use the 2 edges of the board and just kind of scrape them together. I'm really tough on my gear. The stuff should be durable, especially if you're out in the backcountry. What else do I got in here? I've got an Allen key. This is the Allen key for the Spark tool size. Again, I'd rather have something like this that I can crank down versus their little mini tool. No offense to Spark. That doesn't take much room in your kit either. Some other cool things. Ooh, another pin. This is the first generation Union pins. I'm not sure if the first and second generation play nicely together. I should probably check that, do another story. But first generation pin, just in case. A lot of this stuff, you know, if I'm out there and somebody needs it, it's going to feel really good to be like, oh, here's that extra strap, da 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 da. Or heaven forbid I need it for myself. Don't think about yourself when you're out there. Think about the people you're touring with and what kind of shit they might need. And if you start touring with skiers, oh man, that's a whole nother ballgame. Other things, I've got a packet full of screws and washers. It looks like I probably need to get some more sizes in there. I've got the Spark size that they use in their touring brackets. I've got some of your standard size screws. You never can have too many. Oh, look at that, an extra buckle. This is the Spark R&D buckle. I think they're... I don't know if Spark was making them or Burton. I kind of forget. Or, yeah, vice versa. Anyway, I should know that. Carry an extra buckle. You never know. Shit can break. Ooh, these 2 things are really cool. These are pipe fasteners. You buy these at your hardware store. Basically, say you've got your 2 pieces of your ski pole. Say the little connector breaks or they won't go together or something happens. Tighten away, and now you've got a way to get out of the backcountry. I've used these before. I was out camping in the Absarokas. It was a 4-day backpacking trip. I decided to take these super light Lecky carbon touring poles. Dumb, never take carbon on an expedition like that. I snapped them like an hour into the trip. Luckily I had these. I had some other pipe material that I was able to jimmy rig, but yeah, I'll never really go. I need to get some extra of these to put in my hunting and backpacking kit as well. So that's kind of a look at the stuff I carry in my backpack. I also carry some snacks inside the hip belt. just something quick to get to. We've carried all that stuff, and then on my body, outside of my beacon, oh, hold on a second. You got to carry shovel, probe, all that stuff. Oh, make sure you got a shovel. I use, what is this one? This Life Link. It's a little bigger. It's a little bit more full size. You can tell it's used. I mean, I dig and I dig to the ground. Depends on what you need. I like a bigger shovel. This one gets a nice flat cut when I'm in the pit. It seems to work for me. Looks like overkill compared to everybody else's stuff. Clink. MSR snow saw. Snow saws are great. If you're going to cut a pit, you should always be checking the snow. Before you leave the house, you should know what the snowpack's doing. I do a lot of snow science stuff. We'll get to that here in a minute, and so this becomes part of my kit for that. And then MSR, what are these? The Striker 240 poles. These poles work okay for the Tetons, but I really need to be into the 320 centimeter pole or larger, especially if you're the type of person riding up in Baker or the Pacific Northwest, because you're not going to be able to get to the bottom of the snowpack with this or find your friends if they're fully buried. Last but not least, always carry a compass. This is a little Silva compass, super easy to use. I don't carry a smartphone. I don't want to rely on a smartphone in the backcountry. Most of the guides I know, most of the people I've taken courses with, they just sit there and stare at their phone like this. That's okay. What if your phone breaks? What if shit happens? So carry a map, have a compass, know how to use the compass. Awesome tool for figuring out slope angle as well. Don't be guessing. Don't be like, oh, I wonder if that's actually, that is exactly what it is. Figure out where you're at. This is information that becomes very important when you're filling out your avalanche notebook. Hopefully if you're watching this video, you've taken an avalanche course. If you haven't, just hit pause, go sign up for an avalanche course. Seriously. I like to track my tours. I like to track what the snowpack's been doing. A little bit of everything. You've got pit profiles, you've got tours that we've been on, all sorts of different stuff. In the back you can put notes about when it first started snowing throughout the year. But this is really important, and if you're filling these out correctly, they're going to want to know where you're at. Know how to also read your elevation. A lot of times I'll have a little watch that shows my elevation, just a real basic watch that I can jot that stuff down. So at that point, you know where you're at, you know the terrain, you know the elevation, you know the slope angle, you've got your stuff to stay safe. Hopefully you've got some knowledge out there, and remember, you can always back off and come back the next day, the next month, the next year. I've been doing this for a while. Splitboarding's fun. Just make sure you stay safe out there. So thanks for checking out my videos. Be sure to subscribe. I think the button's left, right, I don't know, something like that. And we got all sorts of videos coming. As you can see, there's a lot of Splitboards here that we tested last year, so tons of reviews to come out. I'm here in the Tetons. Like I said, I'm going Splitboarding tomorrow. I'll probably be out hunting the day after that, riding my mountain bike the day following that. So Colorado's open to snowboarding right now, kind of if you like that white ribbon of death thing. Splitboarding, it's going to be another month or two before we really get after it. So more reviews to follow. I just put up that review of, what was that, the Spark R&D, Surge Pros. We got all sorts of content right now. So sign up for the newsletter, and thanks again. Peace. See you out on the track.